good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. So good to see you. Welcome to Food Freedom Confidence Discussion. We are on episode 33, and today is going to be we're going to discuss 3 things you need to know about weight set point. So as you all know, that our weight has a big factor in how we eat and what we eat and how we relate to ourselves and how we feel about ourselves. So we're going to talk about this weight factor in our life today, and really like what is the weight set point and how do you find it and all the things that go around it, because it has a lot to do with how we relate with ourselves and food. So I'm going to add Sierra. Hey, everyone, say hello to us. So good to see you. Thanks for hopping on. I really, really appreciate it. And yes, hi Sierra. I love how we're matching again today. So I just want to do a quick introduction of who we are. You know, this Food Freedom Confidence group is all about healing your relationship with food, feeling empowered around food so you can live a diet-free life. As we know, or maybe you don't know, diets cause a lot of harm to us physically and mentally and everything else in between. And we like to discuss what other ways can you go about your health and food and your body with a holistic approach. Sierra and I are donut-loving, veggie-eating, eating psychology coaches, as well as my body nutrition coach. Sierra is a diet recovery coach, and I am a yoga instructor, and I do meditations. So there's a well-rounded aspect because, you know, we think food is the problem, but as we go on this journey, we realize food is a small part of the problem, and the bigger problem is everything else in our life. And so we're going to touch on that just a little bit today about what weight set point, because how that can affect how your life can affect that as well. So we want you to understand what weight set point is, because we don't want to have you like micromanage your weight. You know, what if you didn't have to do that anymore? What if you had a little bit more freedom and you could actually begin to enjoy food or your life a little bit more if you weren't so micro-focused on the number on the scale?
It's true. This is a hot topic because, you know, first of all, you know, how much of our weight is actually in our control, right? Because diet culture, like Hannah's talking about, diet culture and, you know, the diet mentality and diets in general, well, kind of like there's this notion that we can control our weight. And in today's live discussion, we're going to be talking about, again, what is weight set point, how it can actually, how you can stop micromanaging it, you know, and how do you find food freedom? How do you not feel so crazy in your head all the time? So what is set point? Essentially weight set point is the weight that our bodies feel the best, and the weight our bodies want to be at in order to function optimally. And it's the weight that our bodies can maintain effortlessly. We're not micromanaging it. We're not counting calories. We're not weighing our food. We're not portion sizing, right? So none of those things. So one important point to note is that our set point weights are actually more of a range. Mommy's on a call, okay? Can you finish watching your show? Go talk to Dad.
I think what happens is we think that like our weight should be this static thing and it should be this certain point, and this is the point that it needs to stay at. And we need to realize that that's unrealistic to think that our weight is going to be the same weight and is never going to change. Think about the people that, you know, that we weigh ourselves and we like freak out over a pound gained or lost or whatever else. It's like if we kind of broaden that out a little bit and have a range of a weight, then maybe that would give us so much more peace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like our weight set point rate, like it changes, right? So just because you were able to effortlessly maintain your weight in your 20s, let's say, that's going to be different. Your set point might be different in your 30s, 40s, 50s. You know, our bodies change with our life, and so can our set points.
It's really the bad part.
Okay, go ask Daddy to give you a hug. Sorry. So it's like a thermostat. So think of your weight set point range as a thermostat, right? So with your weight, if you are turning up the heat, if your thermostat is, the heat is going up and you're starting to feel really hot, your body's going to start all these things to try to like cool it down. Just like your weight. If your weight starts to go down and your body's like, this is below the range I like to be at, it's going to start firing to make all these biological processes shift your weight back up to that range, right? So there's this really cool study. It's a hallmark study. A lot of sort of the biggest studies done on how to help people recover from diet recovery on weight. And this is the Minnesota starvation experiment. You can Google it. It's very fascinating. But essentially, it puts all these participants on a very restrictive diet, which is pretty similar to fad diets today. Actually, even like the caloric range, this is like 1,200 calories was considered starvation. That's scary. So they put them on this restrictive diet and found that some, after the end of the restriction, after the end of the diet, essentially, were in this, like, they overshot their pre-starvation weight. So meaning their weight set point went up by 145% when they came out of that dieting phase and were allowed to eat normally again. So meaning if you've been a very, very restrictive dieter, your weight will go way up above your weight set point, but then it usually settles back down to within about 5% of your pre-starvation weight. So your weight set point is kind of like your weight that happens in between diets. That's another way of kind of thinking about it. So what is the weight your body returns to after diets? That's probably right around your weight set point, but that can go up as you continue to diet.
Yeah, and also with the Biggest Loser, think about that. They were on a restricted diet and workout plan, and when they left, their bodies eventually, gradually went back into their set point, where maybe where they were before or a little bit above. And I hear this all the time, like, people feel like they need more control or they need more willpower, or it's like they feel like they need something in order to not overeat or binge or eat the foods that that we've deemed bad. It has nothing to do with willpower. What we're talking about is like our body, like, biologically feels safe at a certain place. And if it's not in that certain place, it's going to do everything in its power to get into a safe place. And so our body is meant to survive. That's what it wants to do. It wants to live. It wants to flourish. It wants to be our advocate and keep us moving and breathing and doing the things that we enjoy. But how often, think of this, like, it just blows my mind to think about it, how we intentionally starve ourselves. Starving ourselves, meaning we restrict food, we restrict calories, we measure, we're dieting, we're trying to get smaller, we're restricting. What signal is that sending our body? It's telling our body that it's like it's dying. And so what it wants to do is to survive. So it is going to initiate you having these so much, like, more hunger. Right? You're going to be hungry. You're going to want to eat this. You're going to want to eat that, because it is in a point of starvation. It went below its natural state. What the set point is, and the set point range is, it's this natural place where it's effortless. You don't have to work for it. Your body just naturally goes there and it's happy, and you can eat this and eat that and do whatever you want, and it's going to be at the same place.
Yeah.
So what determines our weight set point? There's a lot of different factors. This can be, I'm going to say, like, emotional factors, how we deal with our emotions, mental factors, what's our mental state, physical factors, how are we in our physical body, what are we doing for it or not doing for it. Our environment has a huge play in it. If you don't think your relationship issues have a part of it, it does. All of these, our life, think of, like, every aspect of our life can impact our weight and our set point, because that is going to impact how we eat, our stress levels, and everything else. So it's not just this stagnant thing. It is a flowing thing, and also it depends on what's happening in your life. That's why eating psychology is such a thing that me and Sierra do, because what I talked about earlier, it's like food is the small part of it. It's everything else. How are we managing our lives? How are we dealing with our lives? That's going to have a huge impact on our weight and well-being.
Yeah, that's so true. And, you know, so how much of our can we control, right? Like a lot of our weight set point too is our genetics. Like what were your mothers and her mothers, and a lot of it is genetics. And like you said, this is why we do eating psychology, because there's so many people think it's just, eat less, exercise more for your weight. Your weight set point is way more complex than that. And again, we're just scratching the surface here. This is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to weight set point, and we talk a lot more about this in our programs. So one of the biggest reasons our weight set point actually changes specifically is due to dieting. And we've talked a little bit about this before, but basically our bodies want to stay at a predetermined set point weight. And when they notice, like the thermostat, when they notice that weight is being deviated, it's like, oh, there's another really good example of the pendulum, right? And restriction, right? So when you pull the pendulum back, it's not just going to stop right here in the middle again. You're going to pull it back. It's going to swing the opposite way. Your body is fighting to stay at this place. So even if this is very important, even if you don't want your weight set point to be where it's at, right? If you're like, well, my weight set point is this amount of weight, but I think it should be thinner. I want it, right? It's like we have this preconceived notion of what we think our weight set point or what we think our body should look like, but a lot of that's based on unrealistic beauty ideals and body standards. Okay, so last thing I'll say here before we get into some tips that can help you get started with finding your weight set point, but the pursuit of weight loss is the number one trigger and possibly the defining feature of diet mentality. And if you're trying to feel better around food in your body, and you're trying to feel less crazy around food, and you're trying to heal your relationship with food, trying to obsess about your weight set point and trying to be at this perfect weight that you think is good is going to trigger the diet mentality. It's going to trigger unwanted eating behaviors.
True. So let's give you some pointers, some tips to find how to find your weight set point and how to become more friends with your body, I like to say. Number one, stop restricting. Stop counting calories. Stop trying to limit yourself. Controlling your food. All of that is going to have a huge effect on your weight set point. And actually, in all of our programs, our membership and our inner circle, our one-on-one clients, we go into depth on how to stop restricting, because it's not as easy as you think. And it's good to have support when you do that.
Absolutely. Number two, ditch the scale. Literally what Hannah just said. This is so much harder than it seems. We were just talking with a client about ditching the scale, and it is extremely difficult because it represents our safety. But we recommend, in all of our programs and all of our clients, we recommend that everyone expects some sort of weight fluctuation in the beginning of this process. And this is due to, again, what some refer to as the honeymoon phase. So you finally stop restricting yourself. Like Hannah said, we work on you with this, and you allow yourself unconditional permission to eat, which is terrifying. But if you're like, oh, Sierra and Hannah, I need to lose weight. Okay, we talk way more in detail about weight loss, intuitive eating. You can scroll through our videos and look. You can actually watch some videos where we talk about weight loss and intuitive eating. But to sum this up, your weight does not equal health. Okay, so your perfect ideal weight set point really doesn't exist. Okay, there's a range like we've talked about, and health promoting behaviors improve your health. So implementing fruits, veggies, moving your body that feels good, staying hydrated may or may not change your weight depending on where you're at, in relation to your weight set point. But that's not the goal. The goal is to feel healthy, feel good, to not feel crazy around food.
Yeah. And so the last and final tip we have for you is pay attention to your self-care. This often gets overlooked because we think, self-care, man, it's just so boring. I just need to go get a pedicure or massage. Self-care is actually taking care of yourself. Are you feeding yourself on a regular basis? Are you eating nourishing meals? Are you taking mental breaks throughout the day and giving yourself a moment to go out into nature, take a deep breath with fresh air? Or are you like giving yourself a moment to rest? These are all important self-care tips. We have to learn how to care for ourselves. And we go deeper into this too, because oftentimes self-care is kind of like just put off to the back burner. And if you've been dieting, self-care is definitely not part of your repertoire.
Yeah. So I have to address this question with weight set point, because I know we're going to hear it. Can I change my weight set point? Can I lower my body's weight set point? And here's the thing. There is not strong evidence right now at this time that we can change our weight set points. So we know from lots and lots of research that we can lose weight in the short term, but it's typically, and look at, it's typically regained over time. And look at your own history. Have you been able to keep off weight for longer than a year or two? Okay. But remember that the set point weight is a range for some people of up to 20 pounds. So fluctuation of 10 to 20 pounds is actually normal for your metabolism.
Yeah, and so we just want to remind you that, healing your relationship with food is, in a way, stepping into acceptance of who you are, where you are in this moment. It does not mean that you're giving up on life. It doesn't mean you're giving up on your health. Like, moving into healing your relationship with food means that you are taking care of yourself on a deeper level that you've been neglecting for many, many years. Our focus is not mainly on weight loss or finding that perfect set point. It's about empowering you around food. It's about empowering you with yourself to find what you like and what you dislike, and to find this inner drive inside of you of who you want to be and show in the world. Because if you are a part of this group, which we're so grateful for, we know that you are driven and hardworking and will do anything. And in a way, you become so obsessed with food, and that's all you think about. What would it be like to not think about it all the time? What would you do with your time if this part of your life was more relaxed and settled, and there was this peace and this confidence that you were taking care of yourself, that you were eating the right foods that were good for you, that you were creating this well-balanced well-being path, right? Like, what would that feel like? What would you do with your time? That's what it's about. That's why we're here. That's what we want to help you do. So yeah, so your set point can be there, and you can still live your life and do all the things that you want to do.
Absolutely. I feel like that's a beautiful way to wrap up this topic on weight set point. Again, this is just scratching the surface. Highly recommend checking out some of our other videos if you're new to the group, so you can kind of get a better snapshot of what we do. We do have a big announcement coming up next week, so stay tuned. Next Monday is going to be a big announcement live. We're super excited. So if you have questions about weight set point, you have questions about, or if you're like, but what about this? Comment below. I saw Emily. Hi, Emily. She tagged one of her friends in this video. If you have a friend or someone in your life that you feel like this would be helpful for, and you think this group could be helpful for, tag them in the comments, invite them to join the group so that they can be on this journey with you. And no, you're not alone. That's why you have this community. So we look forward to chatting with you next week for our special announcement, and we'll see you in the group.
You guys have a wonderful day. Let us know if this was helpful. If you got something from it, let us know what it was, so we can keep bringing you more and more of these videos and make sure that we're speaking to you and helping you, because that's really what it's about. All right. See you later.
Bye.